concern there, I think, is that Mono Black Devotion, that's the Black Devotion versus Blue Devotion match has been kind of construction dependent since the format began. You know, like you can build a Mono Black deck that can beat Mono Blue if that's what you set out to do. And I think that maybe we are at the point where that is how people are building their Mono Black decks. We're seeing a lot of Bile Blights again. That card kind of fell out of favor and it's back. Things like that.
So we have a Tidebinder Mage versus a Frostburn Weird, and we are off to the races with two creatures that will brick wall each other.
And tap each other.
Oh, Tidebinder number 2, trumping the Frostburn Weird. Not a lot of ways to undo it either.
Yeah, it's always satisfying when you get to tap something down with Tidebinder Mage against a deck that is not playing red or green.
Yeah, absolutely. Although, I mean, Frostburn Weird, that counts. That totally counts.
All right, fair enough. It does, in fact. By the game rules, yes, it does.
Now, I've always thought Mono Blue is it's one of the best decks, except against Esper and Mono Black.
Correct.
And the problem is, of course, that there's a lot of Mono Black these days. Mm-hmm. Not that much Esper. You know, a lot of people switch to Blue White, which Blue White much worse against Mono Blue than Esper. Just from the shortage of spot removal.
Sure.
Or a little bit worse anyway.
Yeah, spot removal obviously is very good. You lose a little bit of that. Now, the way that people have been building their Sphinx's Revelation decks lately have been leaning pretty heavily on planar cleansing.
Oh yeah,
which
definitely very strong.
That card's actually quite good in the matchup.
So we've seen both players here develop their board into, we're looking at Frostburn Weird, 2 Tiebinders, a Judge's Familiar, and a Night Veil Spectre versus 2 Spectres, a Thassa, and a Frostburn Weird. Mm-hmm. Not a lot of attacking can really take place except when Thassa is involved.
Right.
The way that, so many of these decks, or so many of the creatures in this deck are so butt heavy.
Yep. So yeah, this is just a big log jam, except that it looks like Ravits has a couple of ways to kind of break the mold open.
I mean, this is a massive, massive trump here. Not only did he already have Thassa going for him, Biden means he's going to start gaining even more of an advantage. And now a Master of Waves is presenting
12 tokens.
Yeah, complete lethal if Adam can't produce a Rapid Hybridization or a Cyclonic Rift this turn.
Mm-hmm. And he takes a peek. Does not show us, so leaves us sweating along with Josh here.
I mean, this is what, turn 6? This is absolutely devastating. I mean, this is an incredible showing from Ravits. This is what they say. This is how they say going off.
Right. Yeah, and I mean, Master of Waves does that. That is kind of that card's job, is to just come into play and then suspend 1, win the game in matchups where your opponent cannot get it off the board. And Adam, of course, has a small handful of ways. He has the 1 Cyclonic Rift, 3 Rapid Hybridization. That's probably more than is traditional, I think, in a main deck. But
Ravits takes the first game very quickly. Now, I got to imagine that these players talked before the match. I mean, first of all, they know each other, but second, I mean, they're playing literal 75-card mirrors to the card. Both of them, 1 Dispel, 1 Annul on the sideboard, 1 Cyclonic Rift, 2 of each. Literally every single card is the exact same, including the 1 main deck, Hall of Triumph, nice. 1 Cyclonic Rift, all the way down, exact 75.
Wow, so they are. I did not notice that. All right. I'm going to give the edge to Josh because of his handwriting.
See, I'm going to give the edge to Josh because he's up 1-0.
You know what? Your logic is almost as good as mine.
So I think game 2, we're going to see more of the same. Both players are going to kind of just play out some creatures that make ground, attacking on the ground not really super feasible. And it's going to come down to trumps, things like Thassa, Master of Waves, possibly Biden in the right situation, forcing horrible attacks.
Right.
And really just miscellaneous things like Cyclonic Rift.
Yeah, Cyclonic Rift, definitely a game breaker. We've been talking about how these decks kind of just present creatures with big butts that stare at each other. One way to break through that is to just make it so that your opponent has no permanents in play. Yeah. Solves that problem real quick.
It's worth noting, both players have access to 4 gainsays.
Right.
So there's going to be a lot more tactical maneuvering.
It looks like we're not quite a 75 mirror because Josh only has 3.
Josh has a 3rd Dissolve instead of the 4th gainsay.
Okay. I want so badly for that to be the deciding factor in this match somehow. I don't know how we would even track that, but
I think that as long as either a Dissolve or a gainsay comes up, we'll just go ahead and say that was the one.
That was different. Yeah, of course. Okay. Yeah, so shame on you, Josh, for cutting that 4th gainsay.
Well, what makes you think that Josh cut the 4th gainsay? How do you know that Adam didn't cut the 3rd dissolve for the 4th gainsay to double cross to win the mirror?
All right, fair enough. All right, shame on you, Adam, for your skullduggery and
No. So there's no no shame in going rogue. This is right here. This is a clashing of ideas. This is where 2 men enter the arena, and they have 2 radically different ideas. Whose is right? Who is going to win this battle? Dissolve number 3 or gainsay number 4?
Yeah, radically different.
These are the kind of questions that we must ask ourselves.
74 of the same, but yeah. But which counterspell on your sideboard, for sure. The Mono Blue Mirror, this is not a matchup that, frankly, I don't have a ton of experience in that matchup. But, of course, the gainsays come in. The question in my mind is how hard do you fight over those gainsays? Are you trying to bring in dispels to stop things like rapid hybridization from breaking up your Master of Waves? Or, I mean, like, how deep do you go here?
So I don't think Master of Waves is the end-all, be-all. I mean, obviously, it can be quite potent if it hits, but that game was a little unusual in that there were just so many Night Veil Specters in play.
Right.
The combination of Counter Magic plus Cyclonic Rift means we actually have a few ways to deal with the Master. You might want some number of rapid hybridization, but I think it's real risky to start getting into a space of playing too many dissolves, just because, too many dispels. It's possible you just want the 1, though, just to keep them guessing, and partly because some of the miscellaneous random creatures don't really do very much in this matchup. They kind of just get bricked.
Right. Well, they don't do a ton on their own, but they're all kind of pieces of the machine.
Yep.
Of course, we're talking about how great Master of Waves is, how great Thassa is, how those are big game breakers, but you have to have a board for either of them to do anything.
Definitely. You can't exactly switch into a draw-go deck.
Correct. So I fully expect them to bring in, of course, the gainsays. That card's just too efficient. And probably 2 Domestication.
Domestication is such a nice answer to Night Veil Spectre, but it also does work with Frostburn Weird or Tidebinder Mage.
Right.
You know, being able to take so much devotion away from your opponent while adding to your own. I think you're absolutely right. Domestication is just A1.
Yeah. In addition to the actual, like, the big mythic game breakers, I would guess that games here could be decided just by clearing the lanes. Cloudfin Raptor, Judge's Familiar, Night Veil Spectre. If the ground gets gummed up, then Flyers could take it home if one player gains an advantage there, and Domestication could play a big role there.
Yeah, plus, Domestication on a Master of Waves is, that's just game over sometimes.
And it looks like Adam with the 1-drop that attacks for 1, Josh with the 1-drop that maybe attacks for 2 or 3 later on.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting the role the Judge's Familiar plays in the early turns because of its ability to shut down Gainsay.
Yep.
Or make Gainsay awkward.
So Adam being on the play is going to potentially be the first to Thassa, the first to Master of Waves. And as you said, if he has a Thassa here, obviously Josh would love to Gainsay that, will not have an opportunity to.
Yeah, now Adam really does need to have a 3rd land here. This is not the matchup where you want to stumble in the early turns.
No, definitely not. And there he is.
Looks like he's good to go.
All right. Okay.
Very big.
How deep do we want to go? Was that
very big?
Was the question, and Josh shows us just how deep.
1-0 is very, very hot. Not only are there the 4 Thassas, there's also 2 Bidents and a Hall of Triumph, and he knows Adam's exact list. He's basically playing it.
Sure. 1 Hall, 2 Bident, 4 Thassa, and 2 Domestication.
Oh, definitely.
Coming out of the board. So, not a huge depth of targets, but the targets that exist are very, very high impact.
So Night Veil Spectre coming down, definitely a strong play from Ravits. He's looking to start gaining an advantage each turn, and the Night Veil Spectre can immediately, will allow him to immediately play whatever card he steals.
Yep, and currently Adam, no way to shut that down. There we go. He's going to...
He does have the rapid hybridization.
Yep.
And another Thassa.
Okay. Not too worried about your Reynolds, Rickery. And yeah, that 2-3, that was going to be attacking, causing all kinds of trouble. This 3-3 frog lizard, Adam doesn't really care about that. We've got a blocker for that.
Adam still 1 devotion short of being full-on Thassa, but it will not be long now.
Okay. And Tidebinder doing some pretty good work again. Clearing Adam's one significant blocker, letting Ravits get in for some damage. And we know the last action spell in Josh's hand is a Cyclonic Rift, which he's some turns away from actually being able to overload. He needs to hit, obviously, 7 mana to cast it. He also needs an additional mana or to get that Judge's Familiar off the board.
Yeah, it seems like it's more likely he'll end up just trying to use the Cyclonic Rift tactically to hit one thing to win the race by a turn, because we are in a race type of situation. He knows that Adam has Thassa advantage. The longer the game goes, the bigger advantage Adam will have. Ravits temporarily has a little bit of a speed boost. He's got one of Adam's creatures locked down. He's got a couple creatures that are actually doing some damage.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big Night Veil Spectre from Adam Ruprecht. That is going to turn his Thassa on and provide a much-needed blocker for that Cloudfin Raptor.
And it's tough. He can't even Cyclonic Rift here because the Judge's Familiar would still save the day.
Yep. Yeah, Judge's Familiar doing all kinds of work.
Oh yeah, it's a fine card in this matchup.
And it looks like Josh simply takes his beatings, finds a Judge's Familiar of his own, which, you know, we've just finished singing the praises of Judge's Familiar, but not a high impact top deck when you're in a spot like this. Josh's hand and his draw this game has been fairly mana heavy. He does have that Cyclonic Rift, so that kind of mitigates that problem a little. But like as you said, I agree. I don't think he's actually going to get an opportunity to use it to full effect.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, the better way to be mana heavy is to have a Nykthos. So you just have all the mana you could ever want. Right,
but still have a handful of spells.
Exactly.
Alternately, you could have a Thassa in play, and then you have all the mana, but you have a mana sink to pump it all into.
This matchup has some very real tactical elements to it, but it also has an awful lot of, you just kind of want to draw the weird cards. You want to draw the rewards. You want to draw the Night Veil Spectre, the Bident, the Thassa, the Master of Waves.
Yeah, you want some number of those cards. The awkward thing about those cards is, again, as we've said, none of them really do anything on their own. So there's the real risk of actually just drawing the hand of like Gainsays and Bidents and then just not doing anything.
Adam able to replay his Spectre, so Ravits was only able to prevent a little bit of damage and stop a Spectre hit from giving Adam an extra card.
To keep his Cloudfin Raptor.
Continuing to draw low impact cards, Ravits probably just doesn't have, I mean, this is it, right? Like, there's not enough time. Yeah. With no more tricks, Thassa can literally just make enough creatures unblockable to end it, right?
I believe so. You could draw Domestication to take the Night Veil Spectre to turn off the Thassa, and then you...
Well, see, does he have any more draws?
Oh, probably not, actually.
I don't know. How much mana does Adam have? Because with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, let's see, that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, he's got enough mana to make his Frostburn Weird and Thassa unblockable, and pump the Frostburn Weird.
I believe the Frostburn Weird is
right. Lockdown.
Yeah.
Okay, so he does have one more draw. Life is good. Yeah. Everything's going to come together next turn.
Exactly. We're going to have Domestication come off the top, and it's going to be good cinema. Maybe.
I just like that Ravits is continuing the beatdown.
Yeah, I agree.
Fearlessly, and, rightfully so, given the fact that Thassa means there's no blocks to be had.
Yeah, for sure. When you're in a situation where you are losing ground, when there's a card like Thassa in play that you don't have clean solutions to, often your only way out in that spot is to just kill them before they get to use it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know that Josh can do that from this board. That's kind of a tall order, but certainly to his credit, he's trying.
Domestication's probably the first step, though.
Yeah.
Steal that Spectre, shut off Devotion, have another creature of his own.
Yeah. And Adam is, this attack feels odd to Adam because I think Adam definitely feels like he's in control here. And the alarm bells kind of have to be sounding. Like, well, you're presenting me kind of a 1-for-0, just crashing your 1/1 flyer into my 2/3 flyer.
Well, it does 2 extra damage. Otherwise, he'd just block the Cloudfin Raptor.
Yeah, of course. And so Adam kind of has to like crunch the numbers, think like, what could cause this to matter? Like, why would Josh do this?
Adam in pretty good shape, as long as he can keep Thassa, the Thassa beats coming.
Yep.
I mean, he's going to hit for 8 this turn anyway, if he wants. Although the problem is that if he swings like that, his life total is so low that unless he has some action in his hand, he's exposed.
Yeah. If he doesn't leave back a blocker here, Josh has lethal on board. 3 from the Frogs, 2 from the Raptor, and 2 more from the Tidebinder Mage.
Now, of course, Adam, his alternative, he can swing with just Thassa, which puts Ravits on a 1-turn clock. But if he loses that, if he loses that Spectre, it all falls apart.
Yeah. And it looks like he's going to, interesting, okay. So just wants to swing with Night Veil Spectre then. Kind of give him a look at some additional material. If he gets another blue permanent in play, and that...
Wow, that was the domestication.
Wow, okay. So we actually said, there needs to be a domestication on top of Ravits' deck. We forgot to mention that it needs to be Ravits that draws it.
Wow.
Wow, yeah, that's strong. So yeah, as I was saying, any blue permanent that Adam can find, and of course Night Veil Spectre gives him another free look at that, that would pretty much lock the game up. That kind of insulates Thassa as staying a creature. Domestication, of course, is a blue permanent and another one that you get to steal. So,
and a big, a big advantage to hitting only with a Spectre that turn is that the knocking to Ravits to 8 is still presenting lethal. Oh, and Adam also shows a Master of Waves.
Just has it all. So, all right. So Master of Waves, I guess even the safer play than domestication.
Well, Adam ties it up 1-1. So far, whoever plays Thassa, or whoever resolves his Thassa first, has had the advantage.
Sure.
Don't expect too much to change after sideboarding. Be interesting to see what happens if some of the counter, a little bit more of the counter magic comes into play.
Yeah, Adam saw a null out of Josh. That's a card that he obviously has one of his own, so he knew it was there. And he probably...
I think we got to give it to Ravits for his handwriting, though. Game 3, I think.
Okay.
Adam game
right.
2 obviously had the advantage of getting to go first.
Yeah.
But game 3 doesn't have that advantage anymore, and instead Ravits continues to have excellent penmanship.
He does, but you know what? I'm going to give it to Ravits because he's on the play.
Half a dozen of one.
Yeah.
3 plus 3 of the other.
Yeah. But yeah, the real question is if they make any changes to boarding. And the only reason I can think of that they would do that is, Adam sees a null rather. Does he want to maybe then go deeper and start talking about negates, dispels, things like that?
I think they both just know that the other person's got the misers and null, and that's just part of the equation.
Okay.
But I don't know.
Got me real good. I didn't see it coming.
Anything's possible.
Yeah. I could literally see it in his hand, and I didn't see it coming. I was like, old, blue card with an old frame. Yeah, Ravits has a Gainsay in his hand. No, wrong card.
No, I don't know. I think it's going to be real interesting to see what happens to this mono blue deck in about 3 months, because mono blue sure wasn't a very big factor at the Pro Tour.
No.
The Block Pro Tour. Without Frostburn Weird, without Night Veil Spectre, without Tidebinder Mage, it's a lot tougher to assemble Devotion as fast,
Yeah, for sure. To be fair, I think a big part of that was just kind of just because of the texture of that block format. The sweepers cost 3 instead of 4, and they uniquely affected the cards that mono blue the Devotion decks had to play. Like
Drown in Sorrow,
like Drown in Sorrow, and like Anger of the Gods. I think that mono blue Devotion was a deck that was uniquely vulnerable to those cards. There were other decks that were vulnerable to them. Of course, mono black aggro were probably one of the higher profile ones. But mono black aggro and mono red aggro, those decks, sure, you could sweep them, but if you didn't sweep them, they were going to kill you. And I don't know that mono blue even had that going for it, in so much as the other decks did.
The big thing we found was that mono blue just had trouble waking Thassa up. Too many of your cards only had 1 symbol instead of 2 or 3.
Sure.
I mean, Night Veil Spectre goes such a long way towards waking up Thassa all by itself. You don't have anything like that in block, and there won't be anything like that for the foreseeable future.
That is true. So how do you think that just cut Ravnica block out of the equation, and we'll just go with M14, 15, and Theros block. Do we go bigger? Are we working with like multiple Jaces, something like that.
Yeah, I don't know yet. I don't know. I'd have to. I mean, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. I mean, first of all, it can't be that many Jaces. If after Ravnica block rotates out, Jace Architect of Thought will be gone too.
Sure. Well, we got to make do with what's his face. I don't know the name of the new Jace.
Yeah,
But,
no. Jace Living Guild Pact definitely has his work cut out for him because he still has to compete against Master of Waves and Bident of Thassa.
True.
And this isn't even touching on the possibility of something like Obelisk of Erd or Prognostic Sphinx, or I mean, there's a number of possibilities. I think that it's gonna Mono Blue is gonna have to take on a new form in some capacity.
Yeah, it'll probably get weirder, I think, is the simplest way to put it. It might become like a Daring Thief deck, or
it's possible,
something along those lines.
Daring Thief, very good with Obelisk of Erd. Convoke with Inspired. So we're starting it off with a Frostburn Weird and a Judge's Familiar. Judge's Familiar a little late to the party, but neither player making too big of a move yet.
Yeah, still gets his beats in. And Ravits now in the situation where he has to decide, do I want to continue developing my board? He is currently behind on board, technically. Or do I want to sit on Gainsay?
Yeah, see, I like this play. Getting a little bit of tempo while still keeping up a null in case he has to counter a Thassa. I also like the thinking about it for 30 seconds.
Yeah, I agree.
To help disguise. Yeah,
there we go.
Absolutely.
Boom. Yeah, because I didn't see that at all in his hand, and I was about to say, like, I really wish you hadn't spent that time thinking about it, because that really gives away the Gainsay in your hand. But yeah, now it just looks like he sold a Gainsay he didn't have. Yeah, and that is a huge turn from Ravits. The one of a null doing a ton of work for the second game in a row. And
I mean, this is going to be curtains already. Annulling the Thassa was such a huge play. If Adam can't deal with this Master, I mean, Domestication would be right on time, but...
Yep. Domestication would do it.
Not much else would.
Judge's Familiar can do nothing about a Domestication, so player land, slam Domestication, that is a winning line. Rapid Hybridization doesn't feel very good, but it keeps you from dying.
Yeah, and it looks like that might have to be...
Or play your own Master. You're still falling behind, but not quite so bad. Just kind of trade elementals for elementals. Of course, allowing Ravits to untap, that presents a whole nother can of worms. Because then what solutions you find have to... you have to get those solutions to work through any potential counter magic, which we know Josh does have a Gainsay there. So
being on the play is so good in this matchup.
Penmanship helps too.
Yeah. And it looks like we don't have much longer for this game. I mean, Adam at 3, not a lot of comeback available. These mono blue decks are not built to come from behind very much.
No. I wouldn't say that. Master Ways, it can get you out of some pickles.
Ravits shows the Gainsay countering the Master of Waves, and he is victorious, 2-1, advancing to 8-1 with very good chances of top 8ing here in SCG Portland.
Yeah, hard to say what the drawing versus playing situation is going to look like here. We're not so far over the line into the 10th round. We're 449, I believe.